Hello and welcome to Center of Weirdness, the weird podcast about very weird stuff, but mostly it's just about TV episodes that we find interesting. As always, I'm Josh, and with me is Skinner. Hey, Skinner.
Hey, Josh. Hey, all you fireflies out there.
And this week on the show, we are covering what might be my favorite show that we have covered on Center of Weirdness so far, because it does live up to what we want. And it falls in that perfect little sweet spot of the era that we like for these kinds of shows, but it lives up to what we were going for. I feel like with some of our previous shows, we had the Time Cop show, right?
Right.
Didn't quite live up to what we were hoping it would be.
Small Wonder, the burrito episode, she does not make the burritos inside the Small Wonder.
No, that's a little earlier, but yes. And then there was the 18 Wheels of Justice, which we were very excited about. Didn't quite live up to what we were hoping for. It was goofy fun, but didn't quite live up to maybe the idea of the episode or whatever.
Or have that much of the truck.
I have that much of the truck. This show, which you know just from looking at your episode title, Pacific Blue, this episode in particular lives up to the episode description and exactly what you want from this kind of show.
I think with this one, and when we decided to do this, I thought this one for you in particular would be like a moth to the flame.
Yeah, very accurate description there.
And this is one where I gave you the episode description, and it's amazing.
It is amazing. We'll tell you what it is in just a second.
And I said the problem will be that it can't possibly live up to this description. It can't be as fun as this sounds. And all the Pacific Blue or Pac Blue, if you are a fan of the show, descriptions are either crazy or about drugs or about something or about topics from the 90s that are incredibly unpleasant to think about in today's modern context.
There's some dicey ones.
But this one, from the moment the episode starts to the moment it ends, is wonderfully stupid. In just everything you want it to do, it is I think the best thing I can think about it is, you know how broad and on the nose Disney and Nickelodeon shows are about the things that they're trying to do or the things they're inspired by or the jokes they're making, how broad, it's just they don't give you a second to even go, oh, I think they're referencing that. You just know because they're just so fucking broad and the acting is so broad about it. I think this is the adult version of that. They want you to know they're doing Silence of the fucking Lambs.
I can see that for sure. So the episode in question, which you can watch these on Tubi TV, you apparently can also watch these on Amazon's new Freevee service.
Wow, which that is really bad branding.
Which used to be IMDb TV, but is now called Freevee. But the episode in question is The Pheonix from May 11th, 1996. This is season 1, episode 11. And the description that got me intrigued is I'll let you read it, Skinner, because you brought it to my attention and I was like, that sounds amazing. I don't know if it can live up to that. And it does live up to this.
Vagrants claim a ghost is using a flamethrower to start fires. And
that's all you need. That's all you need.
It's so simplistically wonderful. And that is just the A plot. The B plot and C plot are crazier and stupider.
Yeah, the A plot has I guess a sense of legitimacy and of danger and drama to it. Because,
not really.
Well, no, but it's I mean more so than the B plot.
The B plot is so bad and so exploitative is funny. And then the C plot is from an Ernest movie, and then the B and C plot converge, but they never get close to the A plot.
No. Well, because we have two plots, I'm wondering, should we just get the B and C plot out of the way?
I think so too. Like, I think we should, because there's no way to integrate it with the talk of the
No,
A plot.
it's so jarring when they jump back and forth between the A and B plots. I mean, we keep saying B and C, but eventually they just become the B plot. But they do it in a very, I guess, clever. I don't know if clever is the right word.
Once again, like I said, this is a show, like a show for 8-year-olds, takes no moment for you to have to think things through on your own.
No, for sure not. So basically, the B plot is what opens the episode. We see one of our cops, Corey McNamara, played by Paula Trickey, who I don't really know from anything else. And she suffers quite a few indignities in this episode. Really very, very sad. This lady is in a lot of looks like sort of Hallmarky type Christmas movies
That
nowadays.
makes sense.
Makes sense. She was also in Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 as casino waitress. So she's
a great movie,
doing
a great
great
holiday movie.
But anyway, so she is doing her duty on the beach.
What is their duty? What is Pack Blue about?
Oh, I guess that's a good point. If you've never heard of this show somehow,
if you were probably born in the last in this millennium, you probably don't know what Pack
I guess
Blue is
that's
about.
true. Basically, IMDb sums it up very, very accurately. Bicycle officers patrol Santa Monica, California. That's it. That's the show.
It. And hey, you know what? This show is about bicycle cops. What we open on bicycle cops chasing somebody on a bicycle. The perp is on rollerblades. He has a snake around his shoulders.
Yeah.
That is exactly how you want your bicycle cop show to start.
Exactly. If you start a show about bicycle cops and there is not a cop on a bicycle in the first 12 seconds, turn that show off, because it is not giving you what you need. You gotta have that stuff right off the bat.
And if you want your bicycle cop show, it would be hard, I would imagine, even within the first season, within 11 episodes, to justify why your bike cops would be solving certain other problems that don't happen on the pier or involve perps on wheels, but not cars. And you want your show to justify that. Don't worry, this show never will.
They even they question that within the story of the episode.
And they basically solve it by saying like, "Oh, my boss used to be coworkers with you, so he said we could help you," and he does, and it's never questioned. But at least this for the B plot we're covering now, which starts the show, it makes sense that they are doing the work because the perp has rollerblades.
Yeah. And, oh, good. I already called it out, but to bring it back around, our bike cop here that we're starting with, Corey McNamara, Paula Trickey, was in an episode of 18 Wheels of Justice.
I mean, that has to be a perfect circle.
I think it is. But so she is on the beach chasing a guy on rollerblades, carrying a snake. I thought that he had stolen a snake at first, but apparently that is not what is happening. There's a new basic crackdown happening that says that they have to check the permits, as a Lieutenant Palermo says on the when he catches up with her later. They have to check everyone's permits and make sure that they are legally able to be there performing. And she loses this guy because he jumps off a pier and then climbs into the sewer.
And it stinks too much for her to go after him.
Yes, so she cannot.
And this is a great scene of them slow motion coming off the pier onto the sand. So great that at the end of the show they show the exact same scene.
They do. They replay the footage of her chasing him. Her lieutenant, Anthony Palermo, is played by Rick Rossovich, who probably best known as being
the pit reporter for the Monster Truck Show.
I was going to say Slider from Top Gun. He's the guy who poses real hardcore during the volleyball game. But very, very buff guy. And he's her supervisor, and they they have this conversation where Corey tells him that she can't find some evidence from a recent case. So they go to the evidence locker, and they realize that this box of methamphetamines have been torn through and consumed by a rat. So they have to deal with a hopped up rat loose in the precinct
that we never see.
But they have to figure out how to deal with that. At the same time, they're still trying to figure out how to catch this snake guy. So Corey also goes out and talks to various buskers. We see one guy's entire routine.
Yeah, we see this guy do an entire act of balancing on kind of a seesaw on top of a box while he juggles a chainsaw. This man has been in several roles in TV shows and movies. I'm going to read you some of his IMDb filmography.
Oh, okay.
In Ted and Venus, I don't know what that is. He plays chainsaw juggler.
Oh.
In Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles, he plays juggler. And in Everyone Hates Chris, he plays juggler.
Well, he found his niche and he went with it. I mean, I'm sure he is just a juggler on the boardwalk.
If you watch this episode, such as we did, within no framework of what the show is, which we did, you would assume he is a regular on the pier and they have a budding flirtation.
That's what it certainly seemed like.
But he is only in this episode. So she is asking all the other people with permits to busk to snitch on the snake person.
Basically.
We found out that the snake person's act is that he has the snake unhinge its jaw and eat a large grapefruit, and then he goes around on his rollerblades, and while the snake digests it until it spits out the rind, which we're told is very cool.
Sounds awesome.
Did she start chasing him again here? And is this the contest?
No. So there's a couple of things. We're trying to jump around because we want to talk about the A story all as one thing. And so this, between her talking to the busker with the chainsaw juggling, this is when they call in the rats and stuff exterminators.
Who are characters from You Can't Do That on Television.
Yes, Joel McKinnon Miller, who's best known as playing one of the bumbling cops on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and then another guy who I don't know has been anything else. They are credited as Ratman and Rat Boy, respectively, and they show up. They have bad teeth, and they look very slovenly, and they're there to deal with this rat problem.
Apparently, he's on 26 some episodes of Beverly Hills 90210 as Morton Muntz. I have never watched that show, so maybe that is
Joel McKinnon Miller,
the Rat Boy.
Oh, Ryan Brown. Okay,
Ryan Brown.
Interesting. Yeah, he doesn't have a bio, like a bio photo or anything. But yeah,
he was meat on Saved by the Bell, the new class.
Oh, all right, excellent.
So 8 episodes is all that show got.
But yeah, so they show up here to do their business. They're having a hard time finding him. Rat Boy takes a shine to Corey, or is that her name? Corey. No
one ever says their name out loud.
No, not really.
The only name we hear is Matt Miller.
Yeah, we'll get to Matt Miller in just a minute. To be clear, we're not saying it wrong like permits or permits. This guy's name is Matt Miller, one word.
Yes, it took me a long time to figure out they weren't saying his full name every single time they mentioned him.
But so this is around the time that she does chase him again. She's out there. Earlier in their first chase, she chases him between the legs of a guy on stilts, and that stilt guy, he has got to deal with her to snitch whenever he sees Snake Man, and Snake Man is how he's credited on IMDb. So she goes after him. He runs off. He runs through this restaurant where in the back they are having a Hawaiian Tropics wet t-shirt contest. And this is a show that I think aired in sort of prime time on USA, I believe. I think it aired at normal hours. It was not a late night show, as far as I know.
No, it was not like the USA Up All Night.
No, I don't think so.
I've only heard of, in passing, not having been in the USA country at the time. But they really go all out with this because they really do throw water on women's shirts, and they really do get cold, and we really do see pretty much everything.
Yeah, we see a lot of nipples on television in 1996, which I was surprised by. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
This main cast character, Corey, comes in and they pull her into the contest. This cop comes in, and to show how much the peer community thinks of this cop who chases snake people, they just grab her, pull her on stage, and throw water on her. And for the next few stages, all you see are her nipples.
Yeah,
it is
wild.
It's wild, and also outrageous that the producers did this to her.
Yeah,
I don't care if she agreed to it. This was just taking advantage of her.
Yeah, it's pretty wild that they're just we're gonna take her character and we're just gonna show you her nipples.
And you think, it's from a distance at first. No, she later shows back up at the precinct, which isn't too far away, but she's not dry in the slightest, and they just have her nipples just basically on screen, hard as a rock.
And they add that she didn't catch the Snake Man, but she did win the wet t-shirt contest,
which is great. And I really want to point out, as we get back to the rat problem, that the rat catchers they're once again, like Nickelodeon and Disney Channel stuff, they're played like kids show characters.
Yeah,
they're full cartoons.
It's way over the top.
They're just got southern accents. They're wearing dirt on their clothes.
Yes, they're filthy.
They're filthy. It is so over the top on the same episode where someone's trying to do a really, really, really poor Hannibal Lecter deal.
So, let's see. She wins the wet t-shirt contest. Things are great.
She didn't lose, so they told you she's got the best wet top.
Yeah. She finally devises a plan to catch Snake Man, which the thing plays out exactly like it did at the beginning. They both jump off the top, or rather he does. She stops this time because she knows exactly what he's going to do, which is to climb into the sewer. And so she goes down and reveals that she has hidden a net inside the sewer that she then grabs and yanks him out of. And she's captured this man in a net, which is very funny.
Is the cartoon almost ending to that part of the plot that it absolutely deserved?
Yeah. So then she takes him to the precinct, locks him up, and turns out that the rat guys were not able to catch the rat because the rat was just too powerful. It laughed at them, apparently.
It was too strong from the drugs that it had done.
Yes, it is ingested all of these drugs. They tried to entice it out with some chips and beer, and that didn't work. So they don't think they can do anything. They feel like they're just not cut out for this, so they're done. And this also means that the rat boy, his crush on Corey, and their eventual party and date together will have to wait until they can catch the rat. But this leads to the B and C stories sort of merging, where Snake Man offers up his snake to catch the supercharged rat. I don't know why this snake is necessarily going to be good at catching this rat, but I also don't know why it's a good idea for a snake to ingest a rat that has consumed 20 pounds of amphetamines.
It's also a very large snake
Yeah.
to be having going around the office looking for a rat. And like, how would you know that it would go right for the rat? But I suppose the rat is somewhat at least cornered at this point.
Yeah. And it works. I mean, the snake is able to catch the rat.
Unfortunately, they cannot catch the snake.
So now they have a snake that is used to being slung around while it digests its food, has consumed a rat that has consumed a ton of amphetamines, and is now lost inside a police station.
Yep.
This is like that.
I don't know.
This is that scenario where like the there was a lady who swallowed a fly.
Yeah. I don't know why she swallowed that fly. I don't know why this snake swallowed this rat.
What are they going to do? What are they going to hire to get the snake out? They're going to hire in a mongoose and drop it into the vents, and it'll take out the snake.
Maybe there's a busker act on the boardwalk that has a mongoose.
Hopefully. But so that's sort of the B storyline. It's very silly, and it is in direct contrast to the the over the top seriousness of the A storyline.
I mean, like we're gonna talk about the A storyline like it's a serious storyline, and it is played straight. Like,
yeah,
it is. I want to like really stress, it's crazy and stupid, but it's played straight to the point of childhood trauma with piano music.
It's amazing. We called it as we were watching it, but it was still so nice to see it actually happen. Like the way that it played out, it was great. So we open our A storyline with this warehouse at night. And we see a man inside wearing a gas mask and a trench coat, with a flamethrower setting everything on fire. And there are some men inside, I guess some sort of unhoused guys, some transients, whatever, and they are trying to escape. A long
time.
Yeah, one man whose name we come to find out is Suicide is looking for his friend Bones, so that they can escape the building. He eventually finds him and is able to get them out of the building. This goes on for a very long time. It is clear why this is an hour-long show, because there are moments that go on forever. We see like that entire busker act. These shots of him wandering around setting things on fire, like it goes for like it feels like 5 minutes.
It goes on like we hear. Here's the script for this part as Suicide looks for Bones. Bones is hiding under a table behind a grocery cart. And on the other side of that grocery cart is Suicide. They're literally separated by a grocery cart. And all you hear is, "Come on! Come on! Come on! Bones, where are you? Come on! Come on! Bones, where are you? Come on!" And it I'm not making that up. It goes on for about at least 1 minute, and then he finally moves. We never hear Bones respond. I don't know why he's not saying it. He finally just moves the grocery cart because apparently he knew he was there the entire time, even though he's yelling, "Bones, come on!" And then he gets him and he goes, "Come on!" Which I assume is all ADR.
Probably, yes. We see
a lot of fire in this episode,
yeah,
which is real nice. They burn a lot of things.
They do.
It's
great.
Clearly the same warehouse.
Oh yeah,
over and over again.
They had a fire day, so that even later on when that car goes up, it's outside the warehouse. They just shot everything in a single day.
I mean, they had to get a permit to do it.
Right.
Probably not for 2 days.
So they finally get out. This guy, Suicide, runs out towards these men. Outside, he tells them they need to get out of there because the Pheonix is back. The Pheonix is here, and he's gonna take everybody out. You got to run. And then we cut to see the Pheonix walking out of the flames, firing his flamethrower into the air. Pretty cool.
Every time he fires it into the air, it's also is simultaneously kind of cool and also kind of funny.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. He looks like a bad slasher movie villain, which is great. He looks like the guy from was it fucking Valentine, the Bloody Valentine or My Bloody Valentine? Yeah, he looks like that guy. He's a gas mask on and he's carrying a
trench
flamethrower.
coat.
It's great.
Yeah, a little flamethrower back, but he looks like a really bad character from maybe like the Batman Arkham Asylum video games.
Yeah,
or
he's a
or like,
Wolfenstein villain.
He's a Wolfenstein villain. He's a video game villain. It looks kind of cool, but also he could be in any of these shows like this or Nightman.
Wasn't there a Metal Gear Solid character who was basically kind of this, like Psycho Mantis or whatever?
Psycho Mantis, yeah. So that's who this looks like. It works pretty damn great. He blows a lot of stuff on fire.
It's amazing. It's great. So we see this guy's suicide. And he is in the police station. I'm not sure why he goes to the bike cops. I guess they know him, sort of.
Yeah, he's going, I saw it. And I don't know why there's a couple performances where people throw in accents like this, and the guy who the landlord of the Fireflies.
Oh yes,
like where they're just putting on a performance, and it's like you just live in Santa Monica. You don't have to have an accent.
This guy's suicide, the way he was like talking to them, I assumed he was like a kind of a recurring character, but no, he's only in this one episode. And so he tells them that it was the Pheonix. He saw this guy.
He saw it.
They don't necessarily believe him, but they want to figure out what's going on anyway. So their Lieutenant Palermo tells them to, I guess go check it out. Because then we have Officer, was it TC, played by Jim Davidson, who is this very chiseled man.
He is just one amazing haircut. just like the most 90s haircut possible.
It is the most 90s haircut possible. And I said while we were watching it that there is a guy in my gym with that same haircut right now in 2022, and it looks ridiculous.
It looks ridiculous in looking back at this right now, because they're always wearing tight polos and spandex shorts, regardless of where they're going, what they're doing. I'm sure there's no actual rule they can't wear pants, but they don't. He looks stupid all the time, but incredible shape. And Jim Davis here, or whatever he says his name is, this performance is awful.
Yeah.
He has no screen presence. His line reading is mumbly. I forget he's there all the time, and everything he has to say is stupid. And what is great is he is part of this entire investigation where he's completely useless. And I want to put that right away. Everything him and Chris do, and they're doing all the legwork, is pointless because Palermo solves it off screen.
Yeah. This guy who Jim Davidson, who plays TC Calloway, that's his name.
I hope his name is Tim Calloway.
He also has a lot of crossover with other shows that other people from this show have been on. Like he's also on an episode of 18 Wheels of Justice, and he's also on an episode of Guiding Light, which a lot of these other people are on.
He's very handsome.
Yeah, he's a very handsome dude. He's also
off camera, like if he walked into a room, it'd be like stunning. I'm just not sure it translates to on camera.
He's also in Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles, along with the busker who was flipping chainsaws around.
I have never watched that for whatever reason.
I mean, I should. I live here, so yeah.
I mean, I watched 1 and 2 like religiously, like all the time. Every day.
And then of course he was in Monster Wars.
Which I think I saw the opening. I found the video to the opening of Monster Wars, which is just the weekly monster truck racing recap. It looks crazy.
Maybe we'll cover it in an episode of that if we can find it.
I really hope Gravedigger doesn't win. I hate front runners.
So TC and Chris Kelly, Darlene Vogel.
So nice. They gave her 2 first names.
Darlene Vogel. Wow. I'm trying to see if I know her from anything else because her name sounded familiar to me, but I can't.
I'm amazed that like this should have had so much crossover with so many things we did on Predictocast.
Uh-huh.
Check your feeds for that. But not as much as you like, considering we did a whole month on volleyball shows, movies.
I figured, there would be something.
I figured it's not, it really isn't.
Oh, she's in a couple things. She's in a Farscape, so we might do a Farscape at some point. She's in an episode of Silk Stockings, which we will certainly do at some point. She was in some Boy Meets World. She was in the Angel movie series. She played Angel in the fourth one.
Oh, good.
Oh my God. Oh my God. A show that we brought up on this very show a long time ago. She is in the pilot of The Hat Squad, that show about those orphans who become cops.
Oh, we did one. That was on our list. That is on our list.
Yeah, that's a show that I think we will have to cover at some point if we can find it. But yeah, the Hat Squad, about a cop and his wife adopting 3 young boys whose parents were cops and or killed in the line of duty. The 3 boys became the Hat Squad, part of the police department that tries to track down violent offenders while still wanting to avenge their parents' deaths. So yeah, she's in that. So in good company. But so they go to the scene of the warehouse fire, and they get there, and it's really unclear why they're there because
they walk in and like no one pays any attention. And they start doing like looking through the crime scene, like they, in a way that like someone in advance would be saying like, "Hey,
who is that?
Who is that? And why are you touching everything?"
Yeah, so they come in contact with our arson investigator, Matt Miller. Again, one name, Matt, M-A-T, Miller, M-I-L-L-E-R, all together, played by Sean Duke, but apparently was credited as Duke Muskian.
That's the best other credited name ever, and it's so close to Duke Muskin.
I mean, it might as well be. So they tell the arson investigator and the owner of the building, Curtis Bilson, that they were told by their friend Suicide that it was possibly the Pheonix. And of course, the Bilson and Matt Miller, they brush this off because the Pheonix is dead, apparently, and that they don't believe in ghosts, and they shouldn't be kind of banding about this weird theory until Chris finds a tiny little coffin with some newspaper clippings inside.
I love the tiny little coffins with news clippings inside, which are shown throughout this episode, yet never explained.
No, there's no explanation as to why that's there.
There's no explanation why these 2 characters have this as their calling card. There's absolutely nothing explained with it.
I mean, maybe we missed it, but I don't think so.
I don't. We were paying pretty close attention to this one compared to a lot of stuff because something was happening all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this is where there's completely like, what are you doing here? Why are bike cops here? And I figured out their defense against people wondering why bike cops are doing anything. Confidence. They're really confident that they should be there. Like they literally talk down to everyone.
Yeah.
Like they literally go to the person they suspect later and prank him and tell him they're going to arrest him before they have any evidence.
Yeah.
And it's not a bluff. They're just really fucking confident because they look so good.
They do. They're all in very good shape, which you would have to be if you're on the bike constantly running down.
TC would also win a wet t-shirt contest.
They should. They should also go to a wet t-shirt concert.
They should. Pour some water on me in the name of love.
That's a good one.
It's the exact opposite of the plot of this episode where it's all about fire. If you think about it.
So they go back to the precinct. They talk to the Lieutenant Palermo, and Officer Chris Kelly brings up some very interesting information that she knows about arsonists and how they're a wild, secretive bunch, and that they like to brag about their fire crimes. How does she know this? When she reveals what happened, I don't like why she knows so much about fire. It doesn't explain why she knows so much about arsonists.
It does, unless there's a second sad story with Piano in a different episode, which once again, I don't see from the descriptions that there ever is.
No.
Her experience has nothing to do with really being fascinated with fire.
No.
Where you would, and like, it's a little early in history to go to r/fire starters to really get inside their brains the way she thinks she does. Why does she even know a Hannibal Lecter type who's just about fire?
Yeah, so now we're going to get to the best part of the episode, which is guest star Dennis Christopher as Dr. Mortimer T. Anton. What a name.
The T stands for the arsonist. What does he call them? He has a name for him. I wrote it down. He calls arsonists, who he probably is on at this point AOL message board. He would put keyword in fire and found like-minded people on message boards. Infernists.
Infernists, that's right. This also has a callback or a connection to a previous episode. This is Dennis Christopher, who is on the show Freaky Links, just happened to not be on the episode that we covered.
He's perfect for that. His performance in here is terrible.
He's doing something. He is going for it.
He's all he's wearing is a black sweater and black sweatpants.
Yes,
but they're somehow so ill-fitting that he looks like that picture of Captain America with the big bosom. He just looks completely wrong, and I don't understand why. He just talks in a whisper, sing-song voice the whole time.
Yes.
All about fire and how great fire is. He has never-ending amount of fire things to say.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm shocked he didn't say my favorite movie is Some Like It Hot, because I do. But like, there's no, I didn't get an explanation just because he knows about her. I don't know if he could sense the fire off of her. But once again, does not make sense with her story, other than perhaps he lit her fire, which isn't really even hinted at, but it's the only thing that makes sense.
No, yeah, and they set this up, but they don't really pay it off.
They act like they know each other really well, which I don't think they're.
Yeah, I miss their relationship there. I think maybe they give some sort of lip service to it, but I don't know how she knows this person.
They go right to like session 7 of Clarice and Lecter.
Yeah, I mean that is
level
clearly
of intimacy.
It is the combination of Hannibal Lecter and then also there's like a weird former arsonist storyline in the 91 movie Backdraft, which also has like an old arsonist that they go and talk to. I think like something like that to catch this new arsonist, and it feels very similar to that.
But I mean, it's so much more Silence of the Lambs because it's just this is how he's in his cell with a no smoking sign on the wall.
Yeah. And a hot plate that doesn't get hot enough to burn anything, and he knows because he's tried.
Yeah, and everything about it, it's amazing. Like, here's the problem though: when you think about Silence of the Lambs, critically acclaimed, right? Just iconic. Everyone has tried to recreate those scenes, like that dynamic between Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster, Clarice and Lecter, and just all those scenes and just how dynamic that was. And it was missing one thing, and that's a stupid hunk in tight shorts sitting off to the side.
I don't know if
every time it ends, he would go, "What's that about?" And then Clarice goes, "Don't worry about it," and they keep walking.
I don't know if you mentioned it on the recording yet, but you did mention it while we were watching, which is that they're like all in really good shape, but then when they go inside a building, they look ridiculous.
It's like when they're outside, you're like, okay, I can get it. They're going to be on bikes, and they are on bikes in the show. These two generally aren't, but they're generally on bikes. So you're like, okay, I understand why they're wearing the shorts. I understand why it's tucked into their white police polos are tucked into their pants, and their socks are pulled so high. But the moment they go outside and it's just an inside thing, and there are several layers inside, they've gone upstairs, they've gone down hallways, and then there's just regular looking people. You're like, for fuck's sake, if you didn't bike here, fucking wear a regular police op, because in theory they are police officers who were just assigned to this section of the police. That's just their beat, but they're regular police officers. They weren't bikers who they were made into police officers, right? They didn't go to a bike gang go, hey, you guys are so cool, we're going to deputize all of you. They're just police officers. They went to training. They went to the same police academy as Hightower and all the rest of them. But their beat right now is police. They can wear regular police clothes if they're fucking looking at a fire. Like a crime scene for fires. They didn't ride their bikes there. They can just fucking wear clothes. They don't have to wear the shorts and polos with the word police along the back. They look stupid. They look stupid next to normal humans. And then TC barely looks human.
So they talk to this guy. He waxes poetic about the flames and the soot.
And the soot. You can wash away the soot, but the ashes remain. The crackling of the skin. Then the pain goes away because the fire knows you and the fire are one.
Yeah, he talks to Chris about like the fire licks your skin and like
no licks.
you know the flames, don't you? You've been in the flames, haven't you?
The epidermal layers. This is what it happens, and then eventually he looks at some pictures of the fire crime scene, and he fucking comes.
Yeah, no, they show him pictures from the crime scene. And he's like, he looks like he's about to nut in his pants. Like he is enthralled by these photos.
They aren't gonna be able to lay a finger on his butterfinger. I tell you right now.
It's very funny the way he plays this character, and they leave after they talk to him, and we see him go over to his bed, and he takes. He bends down like I was like, oh, is he going to pull something out from underneath the mattress or whatever? No, he pulls a little tiny box out from underneath his bed that is not hidden, that you could see from the door if you were looking, because there is no like bottom to his bed. It's just a mattress on springs up off the floor. So you can see everything underneath there. But he's got this little box hidden away, which he takes out and then opens that box. And inside it is a small coffin.
And he's under super security, except for apparently no one's recording him on the phone talking to other criminals or taking video of him with his unhidden secret little coffin.
Yeah, and then he's
full of evidence.
And he's talking out loud. And he's like, you must be careful now, Pheonix, if you're going to continue your work. It's like, what's that?
I love how he waxes on about what a genius and how much smarter the Pheonix is than everybody. And like all he fucking does is he has a giant flamethrower and he's got a mask.
Yeah, I mean, he's not that smart though, because once they figure it out, it's like, oh, of course, it could be nobody else.
They just find a picture of him on security
yeah, he's not a very smart guy if he's getting videotaped going to the prison to visit the arsonist guy.
Which someone should have noticed at the prison. But that's where Palmero, like they go through several things. Right here we'll have where they go back to Palmero to report in. And then Palmero just basically lays out Palermo pizza. Palmero,
isn't it like a cigarette brand?
It is now. I like to smoke him. And he lays out what would be the whole insurance scheme that would be behind this, which it turns out is correct. He explains it in detail, what probably happened and who would have profited off of it.
Yeah.
And then our boy TC is like, so you're thinking, so they're trying to get insurance money off the fires. And then he looks at them and is like, you are suggesting that like you didn't just come up with the suggest this conclusion to this argument that I made. Like he's almost shocked they came to this conclusion when he laid out step by step the entire process and logic behind it. Like somehow he did all this, but it was when they suggest what he told them to suggest, he's like, "You're not suggesting this, are you?"
So basically, what he comes to the conclusion on is that Bilson and Matt Miller were working together because Bilson also the buildings that have burned, the 3 or 4 buildings that have burned recently, were all owned by Bilson, which seems immediately very suspicious. Like that immediately draws suspicion to you. And then also about what did they say, like 10 years ago or something? This also happened. There were other buildings that also burned down that were owned by Bilson, and Matt Miller was also the arson investigator on those cases. So they figured that they were working together to get the building insurance money, and Matt Miller would come in and declare it an arson. They hired a guy named Byron Willoughby to burn the buildings down, but in the last building, they decided to cut their losses and let him burned to death inside the building. And the lieutenant says that the building was white hot. The fire was white hot, so it melted the beams and collapsed the building. And he was able to escape somehow.
I didn't know. Like, did they have jet fuel in his backpack? Like, what's going on?
No. That can't melt steel beams.
Oh, that's right. That stuff doesn't get that hot.
So they're like, all right, fine. We know what we have to do. We'll go after them. They say that they'll go get Willoughby because they know who he is, because they have his picture going into prison. Which again, if this guy's supposed to be dead, how did he get into the jail? How did they let him in? Here's my ID. It says I'm dead. If you look in the computer, but I tell you I'm alive.
The thing is, like, if you want to go full Darkman on this, and I wish they would.
Yes.
Like, this is a man with a half-burned face if he had on some sort of prosthetic face. But it's just him, because when they get the security footage, it's just him. They catch him because he shows up at a place where he could get caught, and should have gotten caught, wearing no disguise at all. Yeah. And apparently never telling anyone who he was or showing ID. Like pre 9/11, you could walk into high security prison as a supposedly dead man talking to another, like who it was. If you're not dead, I don't know if it's double indemnity if you're apparently already dead, but would be, wanted for crimes.
Yeah.
But if you could walk in there and security wouldn't stop you because the towers hadn't fallen yet. We hadn't lost our innocence.
Oh, we did miss that they come to this conclusion after Matt Miller is burned alive in his car.
Well, brilliantly, because they go talk to Anton again, and he's basically tells them that there'd be another crime, something chariot of fire.
Yes.
Man in motion. All you need is a pair of wheels. And then we get more allusions to her backstory, which we could do in a second.
Oh, yeah.
And Matt Miller's burnt. He's like, you can't stop the Firefly. He's too brilliant for you. And he just fucking walks up and sprays his car with fucking fire.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we see Matt Miller get into his car, this old beat up Ford Contour that immediately catches on fire as the Pheonix just steps out in front of it and blasts it with flames, and it immediately goes up.
For a guy whose MO the rest of the time is to blow fire around people but not actually get them, he just like walks up to the driver's side window and just blowing his flame in there.
Yeah. Yeah, he wants to kill this guy. This guy
Matt Miller is so tired though that he doesn't even fucking scream as he burns to death.
Yeah, he's immediately melted from the white hot flames.
White hot flames.
We could talk about her little backstory. Where
doesn't make any sense.
She finally tells TC what's going on. He's like, what's going on in there? He had you crawling out of your skin. And
mind you, they've been talking for like 25 minutes on screen alone, and all he does is just talk directly to Chris and tell her how much they both must love the flames.
Yeah.
And finally, after like 900 minutes of it, TC's like, seems like I'm left out on something here. Man, this is a guy that you could just fuck around on if you were a lady all the time. He wouldn't see it.
So
you could be having footsie under the table, and he'd be like, "Something going on? The appetizer's late. Table shakes a lot."
So I assumed that with the setup they gave us about her like talking about how they're a secretive bunch and like how they like to brag about their crimes and that like that she had some sort of connection to fire, I assumed that maybe as a kid she had played around with fire like kids do sometimes and had maybe accidentally burned something down or hurt someone. And so, she had this kind of insight into like being entranced by the fire, but also understanding how dangerous it is and that kind of thing. Like I thought, okay, they're going that way. Maybe like she understands the sort of nature.
I bet in one of the drafts of this script, that is what happened.
Yeah.
And someone in the last second says we can't make
her a bad guy.
We can't make her an infernist.
Yes, we can't connect her too much to the villains. We have to have this clear-cut line. So her story ends up being that she was 7 years old and woke up and her home was on fire and she was too scared to move. So her dad had to come in and save her and there was no explanation for the fire and they don't know how it started. That's it. That's why she somehow has all this insight into infernists.
She acts like it's weird that she was too afraid to flee the fire and just sat there in fear.
Fire's scary. It will kill you. And
TC also kind of acts like you were afraid of the fire?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of lame.
Like the fire, it's like a microwave's kind of like a fire. I'm not afraid of the microwave. I was with my girlfriend last night and she was dancing with this guy. She said it was her brother. They're really close. It's really weird.
But like, yeah, they just kind of dumb it down to make it this kid who was scared of burning to death. And you're of course she was.
Yeah. Like to the point where in another episode, if Anton's back, and it makes no sense if he's not, because
No, he doesn't come back.
It's so stupid then.
Yeah. No, they set him up as this like lived in character and then you never see him again.
And like, there's like you'd have to have like she's only telling half the story, but that ends up being the whole story. None of this makes sense. None of it.
No.
And it to me, the episode is better for it not making sense.
Oh yeah,
unless her story was balls out crazy.
Yeah,
or like she burnt down like the fucking school.
Yeah, like I burned down our church or something.
Yeah, and then the problem was that I felt happy about it.
Yeah.
And then I joined the bike cops to balance the evil inside of me with justice. And
I still sometimes burn my fingertips just to feel something.
Sometimes when I'm with your girlfriend, we catch things on fire. What are you going with my girlfriend for? I thought she went with one of her 15 cousins she goes sees every weekend.
So they decide to split up. Lieutenant Palermo is going to go after Bilson. They're going to go after Willoughby. They go to Willoughby's flophouse apartment. He is not there. They encounter his drugged out landlord.
It's performance. And for what?
I don't know, man. He's all over the place.
They could have walked in and he just could not have been there. They didn't need a landlord character.
Yeah, he's already gone, but on his answering machine, there is a message from Dr. Anton that says, there are people who want to stop you from finishing your work, so if you are going to finish, you need to do it tonight. So they rush over to Bilson's. Palermo's gotten to Bilson's. He comes in. He's like, "Hey, you're under arrest."
He literally says, "Bike cops."
Yeah,
you're under arrest.
He comes in. Bike cops here. You're under arrest, and
here's your Chinese food.
And Willoughby is standing there behind him, with his scarred up, burned face, played by Tim DeZarn. who's been in a bunch of shit.
He was the old creepy old man in Cabin in the Woods.
Yes, that's a really fun role of his, but he's been in a bunch of stuff. If you see his face, you'll probably recognize him from something on television because he's been in lots of things. He was in Lost, I think, as Kate's abusive stepdad.
He has abusive stepdad energy.
Yes, he does. He always plays kind of a piece of shit, like a sort of angry guy. Yeah, so he's there. He somehow is able to knock out Rick Rossovich, Lieutenant Palermo, just by conking him on the back of the head with a gun. And then he kidnaps both him and Bilson and takes them to another factory.
So he takes them back to the original factory where he burned to death because he's the phoenix rising from the ashes of his death. Because they go back to Anton. And he's like, "I've been telling you from the beginning where he was."
I love what he says. He doesn't say, "I've been telling you since you came to see me." He says, "I've been telling you the truth since you crossed my threshold."
He's also constantly offering them tea. And every time they walk in, he's always like, "I don't get visitors this time of the day that often." So this is an episode with the rat catchers and the rat that took drugs, the juggling of the wet t-shirt concert, everything. The most ridiculous thing in this whole show is this old man must have dragged another old man and a slab of beef that was knocked unconscious. Dead weight is incredibly heavy. I don't care how good he is with fire. There's no way he dragged them there, hung them up, like once again, like slabs of beef. He's not strong enough. He's not a strong guy. He just has a fire pack.
Yeah, it's very funny. We cut to them in the warehouse, the wharf area, and they have chains wrapped around their arms, and they're attached to a pipe, and they're hanging there. Bilson has his mouth closed because I guess they didn't want to pay him anymore, but Rossovich does not have anything over his mouth, so he's able to talk to Willoughby, to the Pheonix, and Willoughby starts setting everything on fire. He starts blasting flames around them. Doesn't actually burn them up, but I guess it's the whole idea of he wants the fire to encroach on them and make their death very slow. He doesn't want to give them an easy out like he did with Matt Miller. But so they're on fire. Things are on fire. Things are burning up. TC and Chris get there on their bikes, and they run in. Is this when they have jackets on now? They
have
put
jackets on at this point.
They put these big puffy jackets on.
Big puffy jackets with their names on it. I wish they had found a way to use a snake to get rid of the fire.
Yeah, that would have been a great way to tie everything together.
Or she comes in with her wet t-shirt and throws it on the fire.
So they go in. The fire is very scary for Chris, who has to kind of reach through the flames to grab an axe that they can get the chains off of.
You're really underplaying the amount. So they run in and they're hung by chains from a pipe. Like, once again, I don't know how the fuck this guy did this to them. You almost would have had to have made them do it to themselves, which I don't. That even.
I mean, I guess he points the flamethrower at him and says, "Chain yourself up." I guess you would do it.
Maybe, but then he can't get them out because they're wrapped in chains and they're hooked in the ceiling, and it's just him yelling, "Come on, come on, come on,
hey,
come on, hey!"
It's very similar to the opening when that guy's just screaming.
And they tosses in the axe, and the axe almost hits him.
This is wild. She grabs that axe out of the flames. And you're like, all right, cool. She's gonna run over there and do it. No, she turns and goes, "TC," and throws this axe at him, which he somehow catches magically. Like if he had been off a second, that would have just hit him in the face.
It would have hit him, hit his arms, or hit them. There was only the only outcome that wasn't pain was him perfectly catching it. Everything else that could have possibly happened, and there's a guy yelling at him, and there's fire everywhere, and it's a fucking axe, would have been the only other outcome is someone gets a fucking axe in their skin.
So
And then they have to go talk to some guy who's a master criminal about axe crime to solve that.
So they are able to chop the pipe open, and that the chains
slide
fall
down.
off.
It's very funny.
And they go outside, they escape the fire, and they see Willoughby up on the second floor just firing flames around randomly. Feels like a bad idea. Like, it feels like you set the building on fire and you go.
This feels like a show at Universal Studios.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it feels like a stunt show, but they see him up on the second floor and they tell him to stop, and they want him to come down, and he's like just shooting flames into the air, and he's screaming, and they're like, and then TC's like, "Don't make us kill you." And you're like, wait a minute, I don't think a bike cop should be allowed to kill anyone. And he's like, "You can't kill me, I'm already dead." And then he turns around and basically is almost like he's taunting them to shoot the giant pack of flames on his back.
Like a Wolfenstein character.
Yeah,
He gets
exactly.
Do shoot it.
Yeah, wait till his fifth turn, and then he'll turn around and expose his tubing to you so that you can shoot it and blow him up. Which is exactly what happens. They shoot him. He blows up like the Rocketeer. And he's done for. Maybe. Bilson, he confesses to everything, so he goes to jail for a long time.
They say like he'll be going to jail for a long time, for a while, and she's like, for a long time. I'm like, I don't think you understand that this is a rich white man. He'll
be out in 3 months, but
3 months.
You know, like, we don't see him confess, by the way. They just tell us that he did. Like, again, I literally don't think that this actor, maybe he was having like a sore throat or something, because like he literally does not talk the second half of the episode. He says nothing when Palermo shows up to arrest him. He's just sitting at his chair quietly, and you're like, oh, it's because he knows Willoughby's there. And then he has a gag on in the warehouse, and then we don't see him anymore. So like, maybe the guy he lost his voice or something, and they're like, let's figure out how we can not have him ever have to speak.
Maybe like they had someone else they wanted to cast in this, and like they were just like, he was there like for their stand-in for the rehearsal scenes.
Or they didn't want to pay him anymore. They're like, all right, we paid you enough for speaking roles. We're not paying you anymore. But like, so he's confessed, and then they say, well, any luck on Willoughby's body? And they're like, nope, no sign of the body, no ashes. The flamethrower was also missing. And they're like, well, we saw him go up in flames. And Chris is like, well, maybe Anton was right. Maybe it really was a ghost. And then this camera zooms in on this little coffin on her desk.
So someone had to put that. Here's the thing. He rented a place. He's caught on camera everywhere. Like, he's not a ghost.
He's not. Yeah, we're not gonna like. We're not going to, miss this guy. Like, if he's not burned up to death somewhere and he shows back up again, you will find him.
Yeah, and you know what? Leave the crime scene stuff, like the really investigation of like for looking for bodies, and don't leave that to the bike cops. Yeah. They'll just say it was a ghost and move on.
Yeah, there's a whole list of things that they probably don't need to be investigating.
They should have thrown a fishnet on it.
But that is Pacific Blue, the Pheonix, episode 11 of season 1. Great episode, great show. I know I've said this many times before, but I absolutely mean it here. We have to revisit this show at some point. Every episode, I think I said this on the last episode with Small Wonder, but every episode description sounds wild. So I think we have to revisit this show. I want to see more of this because it's so goofy. It's exactly what I was hoping it would be. Like, it strikes that same kind of vibe that like Baywatch hits, of being very silly and kind of over the top. But I think just adding the extra element of like crime to it, like they're cops and there's criminals involved, I think takes it up a notch for me, just because of how like tone deaf some of that stuff can be in the 90s and how like silly it is that they are bike cops investigating actual crimes.
I mean, that's the best part about it, is that like by season 1, episode 11, like, and this show goes 4 seasons,
5 seasons, my friend.
5 seasons, and I think 3, 4, and 5 are different casts besides like 1 or 2 people, but like they've already run out of reasons for any of the crimes to be solved by bike cops. Like, I mean, like if you set your show so limited to cops at piers, like, it doesn't take long for them to go like, well, they're just going to do regular cop stuff too. Which in this case, because the show is so goddamn wonderfully stupid, that besides what appear to be some really tone deaf stuff they do in other episodes, which we're never going to cover, like it works great because you're like sitting there like, this, they wouldn't do this. This wouldn't be them. This is stupid. This wouldn't be them. Why are they doing this? Why are they dressed like that? They look dumb in here.
Yeah.
TC is stupid. TC's wife is cheating on him again. And stuff like that. And I think that is what makes this episode, and I can't imagine this every other episode is not in the realm of this episode, because this feels very, very, very the DNA of this show when I watch it.
Oh yeah.
I imagine they're all pretty dumb, which I like.
Absolutely. I am very hopeful to see more of these at some point in the future for us. But before we wrap it up, though, we have got to place it on our scale of weirdness. We got to give this episode a rating of how weird is this thing. We can talk about it as an episode, as a show. But yeah, I think I don't remember who went first last time, but I think I will just say, I mean, as a concept, it's very silly, which we kind of use interchangeably, you know, weird, silly, kind of the same thing for us. I mean, the whole idea that it's a ghost who's setting fires with a flamethrower, very funny, very weird. Just the whole thing. I mean, the B plot with the snake and the wet t-shirt contest and all of that. I think I got to put this on. I got to give this like 7, lean an 8, maybe.
I'm going to go 6 because premise-wise alone, it's a 3.
Okay, fair.
Bike cops, chips.
Sure,
whatever,
sure,
right?
sure.
It's a real easy sell to the network. Hey, hot people in tight shorts. They're on the Santa Monica Pier. They're bike cops. You know, everyone in the background will be in a bikini. There is a scene where they're chasing I think it's the first scene. They're chasing chasing the snake guy, and one of the extras just fucking falls, and it's clearly just this extra just fucking ate shit, which is just great.
It's amazing.
Like that, they kept that in because I'm sure they thought it was funny too. Not acting, clearly. Look on their face, not acting. But the actual plot of this episode, the actual use of the conceit of this show, pulls it up to a 6.
Okay, that's fair. I think that's a good idea. I think I'll stay at 7. Then I think just I'm adding a little bit extra because of Dennis Christopher's ridiculous performance.
I mean, it is such a bad / wonderful, like if Hannibal Lecter only cared about fucking fire, and it, like I said, it's this lived in character who seems to have like a decade of rapport with Chris, when in fact there's none.
Yeah, it's unclear if they've ever met.
And like if this character never comes back, it's bizarre.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But I'm so glad that we watched this episode. It was very awesome, very fun. I'm so glad that I've seen this show. I'd never even watched this show before. I just see the ads for it on USA, and so like, but it never seemed like it was my thing. I was like, that seems dumb, and little did I know it would be amazing if I had watched it, but I might not have appreciated it at that point in time. So I'm glad that I waited until right now to finally watch Pacific Blue.
Dip your toe into the Pacific.
That's right. But that's going to do it for this episode. And until next time, when we're back talking about another weird, wild, wacky television series, I've been Josh.
I've been Skinner.
And we want you to keep it weird and keep it hot. You've been listening to Center of Weirdness. If you like this show, rate and review us wherever you find it, but especially on Apple Podcasts. You can listen to every episode at centerofweird.com, where you can also find all of the old Predictocast episodes. And if you want to get in touch with us to tell us about a show we should cover, hit us up on Twitter at WeirdCenter. As always, thanks for listening.